Right, number 68, forgiveness. As always, please like this video, comment on it below, click the subscribe button. All those things help other people to see these videos. I said at the end of last week's video that this week I was going to talk about forgiveness and reconciling, not the same thing, but with people while they're still here. But I've altered that because I want to talk about doing that with people in spirit and with people who are here. So starting with people in spirit, this can be tricky if you're not a medium, if you have no sense at all of people in spirit being with you. I'm certain they are constantly within some proximity of us, not necessarily right breathing over our shoulders, but within proximity of us. And so out of my certainty, because I treat people in spirit as though they're people here alive in the body, but in another country where I can't get to them anymore. That's how I think of them. But I'm certain, I know from my repeated experiences, that they can hear me and see me. It's not really hearing and seeing, but they're aware of what I'm saying. They're aware of what I look like. They're aware of what's going on in my life, and especially what I'm feeling. And so I'm thankful to them when something comes up. I recently had to employ a skill I learned from my mother. And so I was thanking her in my head as I was doing that. And I've also berated my people in spirit because I know they can hear me. So when issues pop up in my life and I'm like, oh, this is yours, like years you've been gone and I'm still dealing with this. So I treat them like they're still around because they are still around. When I connect with someone in spirit, for me, I do see someone in the room with me, but when I'm experiencing their emotions, it's not like I think, oh, this person feels this way or felt this way. I'm experiencing the emotion as though it's my own emotion. That's how a lot of us communicate with people in spirit. So I believe that it works in reverse, only stronger. They really feel our feelings and our thoughts and our feelings as though it's their own experience. So the love that you feel for them, the longing that you feel for them, they're not just aware that you feel that way, they actually feel it the way you're feeling it. The hurt and the pain that they've caused you, if someone in spirit has caused you that, they feel that as though it's their own experience. So they really get, whether they agree with it or not, they really get your side of the story because they're experiencing your side of it. And there's no really better way to really understand someone than to experience their thoughts and their feelings as though it's your own, right? And that's how they get us. So, and I think this is why I've said in lots of videos, everybody, once they pass, everybody gets better. The most difficult, horrible people get better. That was one of the hardest things for me to reconcile myself to come to terms with when I discovered the world of mediumship, because I have people in spirit who were terrible to me while they were here. And they've always come through really positive and loving and supportive and kind, nothing like I knew them while they were here. And so that still annoys me sometimes. Look, I'll get a reading from a friend, someone will practice on me, they'll get one of these difficult relatives, and I just think, really? I mean, that's great, but you couldn't have been a little bit like that while you were here? And the answer is no, they actually couldn't be like that while they were here. It was beyond their ability, but they can do it now. So I listen to, I don't watch a lot of YouTube, I listen to a lot of YouTube. If I'm doing chores like folding laundry, there's a good chance that there's a TED Talk on. And so I don't know who said this. Once I was listening to something and this woman said, forgiveness is no longer giving your attention to things that make you miserable. And I thought, ooh, I really like that, because that highlights the benefit to me about forgiveness. The other thing that I heard once, I had to look it up. It turns out it's a Zen saying, because it's never been helpful to me to say, oh, just let it go or just get over it. Even when that's said to me with loving intent, meaning to be supportive and be on my side, just get over it or just let it go. That doesn't work for me. But it turns out it's a Zen saying that's let go or be dragged. And I love that because it acknowledges that something happened that hurt me or pissed me off and highlights the benefit to me of letting it go or being dragged. So let go or be dragged. I love that saying. And so I have dozens of people in spirit. It's not just my close loved ones. It's anyone who could come through in a reading. So there's relatives in my husband's family that I never met, but I've heard so many stories about them. I can recognize them when they come through. So one of these people in spirit is a man. I'm very close to his adult children. I knew his wife while she was alive. I barely knew him. I met him, but I barely knew him, and then he passed. So he was a terrible husband, and he was a really abusive, emotionally and physically abusive father to the adults that are in my life, my peers who I love. And so I never had a very high opinion of this guy when I would think about him. So it's come out that this man, in the 1940s, when he was 12 and 13 years old, he was forced into prostitution. He was forced into being a child prostitute, which means that this man was repeatedly raped as a child. And so now when I think of him, I think, wow, the fact that he grew up to function in society at all is pretty amazing. And I feel really bad for him, which raises this point. The present, right now, today, can change the past. Because for years, I judged this guy. I was disgusted by how he treated the people that I care about. And now, if and when I think about him, I just think, oh my God, I wish his life had been different. I wish that had never happened in his childhood, because his life being better would have made my loved ones' lives so much better. And the sad thing is, and this is true for a lot of people, it's a lot easier for me to come to that place about him in my heart because he never beat me with a belt, for example, like he did my peers. So a lot easier for me to come to that reconciled place, but I have come to that reconciled place, and I never have terrible thoughts about him now. I know of other people's terrible memories of him, but I no longer judge him or view him in a negative way. So that also brings up this point. Other people's bad behavior is rarely about you. If you're being a jerk and they're responding to that, it is about you. But when someone is just mean or unkind or generally ornery, that's them, right? That's not about you. And that's okay if it's someone standing in line at the market, but when it's a parent or grandparent or some close relationship, that's a lot harder, right? So you may not want to hear this, but I believe you're going to reconcile at some point with whatever loved one has passed or loved ones that have passed that were difficult while they were here. Because everyone gets better. I've been doing that, like with this guy that I was just talking about. I've reconciled with him. I don't feel negatively toward him anymore. But I've also done it. I had one really sweet, wonderful grandmother, and I had one not so nice grandmother that I wasn't close to. And I've made a point of reconciling with her. She's always come through really loving and supportive when other mediums get her and read me. And so we've reconciled. I realize she's better now. I know she knows my side of the story. She's experienced my feelings for her and why I felt the way I used to feel about her. And so now, I never knew this grandmother, I've talked about in other videos, to be a healer while she was here. She's definitely a healer now. I've had major surgeries. She's been right there healing me. I thought about her for this video because I recently had more painful dental work done. And all of a sudden I could feel her behind me with her hands on my head in the chair. And I would never have had those healing experiences if I hadn't reconciled. I think more to the point, I wouldn't have been aware of those. I think she would have healed me anyway. She would have done those things anyway, but I wouldn't have been aware of it if I hadn't reconciled with her and been open to feeling her around me and knowing when she's around me and doing things in my life. So that's the thing. If you have people in spirit who were really awful or just a little difficult even while they were here, they may be helping you now in some way, and you may be blissfully unaware of that, and maybe you don't want to be aware of that. But wouldn't it be nice to know if someone's helping you and in what way? Because I do think they help us in ways that they can. So especially if you are a medium and you do have some awareness of people in spirit when they're with you, I encourage you to start forgiving people, looking at them maybe in a different light and interacting with them from now on, or moving forward interacting with them in a positive way to you. And if you need an apology from them or some acknowledgement, you may or may not get that in a reading, because if you are a medium, you probably get a lot of readings from other mediums. But I want to repeat what I heard that woman say. I wish I could credit her. Forgiveness is no longer giving your attention to things that make you miserable. Make it about the benefits to yourself. It's not about what they did or didn't do being okay, right? The other thing to touch briefly on is about forgiving people who are here in the body, or reconciling with people who are here in the body. If you're going to do that anyway in spirit, why not now? I have at least a couple people still here in physical life. We've been estranged for years, so I don't know, I believe they're still alive. That's how estranged we are. But I'm waiting for us all to be in spirit before we reconcile, because they don't have they don't have that level of understanding about how I feel about them the way people in spirit do, because they don't feel my emotions, right? If you see someone sobbing their eyes out, you understand they're upset, but you're not actually feeling what they're feeling the way people in spirit do. So I think it's okay to wait. It also may not be possible for forgiveness to happen to be between two people or reconciliation to happen between two people if you are the offending party. Maybe they don't want to reconcile with you or forgive you or talk to you or have anything to do with you, and you're just going to have to wait. But that's something to look forward to, because it will happen once you pass. And also I have to acknowledge that for people here in the body, it's a physical world, and it may not be safe to reconcile. I have a closely related person who's mentally ill, refuses to address their mental illness, and can become physically violent, literally go from a normal conversation to physically violent in like 2 seconds or less. Not safe for me to be around that person. So again, I'm waiting for us all to be in spirit, and then we'll rejoin. Yeah, so I think that's all I want to say on that subject. I encourage forgiving and reconciling with people while you're here, for the benefit to you, the benefits to you, and also that it's okay to wait. It's okay to wait for, until you're both in spirit. I think that's perfectly a normal, acceptable thing to do. Next week, I want to talk about an afterlife absent of God. I've keep getting asked questions about this because of the way I was raised. I've always believed in an afterlife. I've never believed in God. Most people believe in both or neither. So I'm going to talk about that. And until then, again, please like this video, comment on it below, click the subscribe button. All of those things help other people to see these videos. And until next week, thank you for watching this time, and see you next week.